Welcome to the latest episode of the Forecast in 5. I'm your host, Seth Katz. Joining us today is Beth Andersen. Beth serves as president with Anthem Blue Cross of California. Beth is a senior level healthcare executive with experience leading cross-functional organizations that deliver consistent revenue and earnings growth. She is a proven leader in sales, product development and launch, provider network development and operations, regional P&L management, and government relations. Prior to joining Anthem in 2018, Beth served in leadership roles with several healthcare companies, including Optum and Aetna. Welcome, Beth. Appreciate you being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Seth. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, let's get started with the questions. Since its founding in 1936, Anthem Blue Cross has been providing high-quality, affordable healthcare for Californians. Can you share more about the impact that the company is having today?
Sure. So Anthem is the second largest health plan in California, Kaiser being the first. We proudly serve 9 million members across all our lines of business, and we are in all 58 counties in the state of California. And when I talk about lines of business, I mean Medicare, Medicaid, exchange, commercial, which is large and small employer groups, as well as national accounts. We cover about 40,000 employer groups, significant number. And we have about 7,800 associates who live in various parts of the state. We also believe in giving back to the community because we're privileged to be able to serve our members here. And what that means is we've donated over $20 million via our foundation. And we were the first health plan to donate $10 million during the wildfires that occurred in Los Angeles earlier this year. And so we continue to find ways to give back to the community, both in dollars as well as volunteer hours, and then supporting many of the not-for-profits in the state.
Extremely helpful review. Making healthcare easily accessible is a priority for Anthem. And one of the many ways that the company is doing that is through its recently announced partnership with Astrana Health and the neighborhood clinics that you're starting to open across the state. Would you be able to touch on why these types of clinics are so important?
So these clinics and our partnership with Astrana is primarily focused on exchange membership, Medicare, and Medicaid membership. And oftentimes members in these categories, they end up using the ER as primary care. And we would much rather, for quality reasons, care reasons, have them use primary care. And so because healthcare is so local, having these clinics available so you can just drop in without necessarily having an appointment. In the case of the Astrana Clinic, the Whittier one was the first one to open up, right across the street from a Starbucks. It's just really important to meet the members where they are in their communities. These clinics also afford the opportunity to cross over cultural gaps, both in terms of language. They speak Spanish and a variety of Asian dialects in this clinic in particular. And we want the members to feel welcome and keep them out of the ER. So that's why the focus is primary care. We also have partnerships apart from Astrana. We have CareMore, which has been in the community for a long time in Southern California, focused on Medicare primarily, but we've opened it up to exchange memberships. And CareMore is owned by an Anthem subsidiary, Carelon Health, or CareMore is. So, we're really looking for unique ways to provide greater access to our members, no matter where they are.
Got it. Mental and behavioral health will continue to be a top priority, and establishing partnerships with various organizations are essential to ensure members have access to providers that meet their unique needs. Can you explain how Anthem has responded to this area in recent years?
Sure. Even before the pandemic, we offered Live Health Online, which was, telehealth. But during the pandemic, as you can imagine, the usage really took off, both for medical issues and behavioral health. And that usage has subsided somewhat. And now we're still seeing a very high utilization for behavioral health. And many of the behavioral health providers, combine their practices. They do a little bit of telehealth, it's hybrid, and then bricks and mortar. So it's now become a major part of the landscape for behavioral health. And it also continues to serve an important purpose for rural areas. Like I said, we operate in all 58 counties. Many of them are rural, where there are very limited opportunities to see primary care physicians because there are very few. And so telehealth can take the place of that. So, it also provides convenience and accessibility, particularly in behavioral health. If you're in a crisis situation, but you just need to talk to somebody, you can jump on Live Health Online or work with some of the other providers we have and get very close to immediate access or next day access to talk to somebody. We also have other 24/7 access points. We have an advice line with the nurse. Our Sydney Health app will, connect you to Live Health Online resources. And then, we think that's just really important because it helps to bridge the gap for the member and it provides access when they need it, even if like a physician's office is closed. So a lot of after-hour care as well.
Thanks for sharing more about that. We have a number of UCLA Anderson students watching who are focused on advancing into executive leadership positions within healthcare, as you have. Are there any helpful pointers that you could share with these aspiring leaders?
Sure. I think find out what area your passion is in. I mean, I started out in underwriting and finance with a great training program, but for me, it was more than that. It was about the ability to give back. So there's nothing, more rewarding for me, even though I don't usually get member issues unless it's a complaint, but I always learn from that and how the organization can do better. And I think, in any healthcare position, whether you're on the payer side or the provider side, is to really stay open and curious and explore all the different areas there are, because healthcare is so broad. You can focus on technology. Policy is so important. I never really understood that till I, got into these senior executive roles, and particularly in a state like California that I think is very regulatory forward in terms of healthcare, is just understanding policy because it really influences everything we do and ultimately the care that members do or don't receive. I think having an understanding or focus on all the key stakeholders, which is really important. Understanding the mindset of the providers, because we don't provide care. We assess risk for a premium or facilitate care through our provider partners. And so just understanding their viewpoint. I think that it's just, there's a wide gamut of opportunities available, and just I would encourage everyone to, if they're interested, to delve in, reach out, network, to find what area most interests them. And I think the other thing is don't be afraid to make changes. I always had the good fortune of kind of to change up my career every 3 or 4 years. So I think I've hit on almost every area there is, other than I never worked on the care provider side of the house. It's always been with the payer, but I've learned a lot through just the relationships with our care providers.
Those are excellent points. We touched on this earlier with telehealth. We've seen this evolve tremendously in recent years. If we look ahead over the next decade, what do you think the future of telehealth will look like?
I think we've talked about this for a long time and we haven't seen it quite materialize, but I think we will see through the use of AI, perhaps, and improved technology, that there will be devices in the home. And you see some of that now, scales, if you have some cardiac issues, that will send information back to your provider. I think we're going to see more of that remote monitoring, and then combine that with telehealth so that the care provider can intervene on a more regular, timely basis before the issue becomes acute and a patient ends up in the ER. So I think that's really what we're going to see on the medical side of things. And, I'm really looking forward to that because I think it'll keep people healthier and be a good home care substitute than having to go to the emergency room or urgent care. And then I think for behavioral health, we're already there. We're seeing, like I mentioned, these hybrid provider offerings. We also are very fortunate to have partnerships with providers that do offer bricks and mortar as well as telehealth. And they also allow you to pick providers that are more attuned to what your needs are, whether it's language or ethnicity or cultural affiliations, which is really important because you want to align with your behavioral health provider. And then they also offer scheduling capabilities online. Like I have it like an open table. Here, I have openings, today, sign up. Or it could be, scheduling in the future. And I think having that convenience is really important for not only medical, but behavioral health. Behavioral health is kind of the first, but I think we'll see more of that in the future as well.
Very interesting. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thanks so much for taking out the time to be with us, Beth.
Okay, well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course. And thanks to all our viewers for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode of the Forecast in 5.